I was extremely nervous. I was out in Hawaii, and I had written a verse for Monster, and he said, I think you could do better. Everyone has an opinion, and also, I'm never mad when people say that. Whenever people give me constructive criticism, like if somebody tells me you could have went harder on that.
In today's episode, we're delving into a significant and complex story surrounding Nicki Minaj, a global icon in the hip-hop industry. This involves grave allegations that have escalated to a lawsuit and could potentially lead to criminal charges, capturing attention from media outlets worldwide. We'll explore the accusations, the historical backdrop, the key figures, and all the available information to date. It's important to remember that these allegations are not yet proven, and Nicki Minaj is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Let's dive in. Reports first surfaced on TMZ, and were later picked up by outlets like Variety, alleging that Nicki Minaj is facing a lawsuit for reportedly slapping her manager, Brandon Garrett, and threatening his career. This incident reportedly took place in 2024, following one of her performances at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, a highlight of her Pink Friday 2 World Tour, a tour highly anticipated by fans. The lawsuit centers on the alleged physical confrontation, but also accuses Minaj of intentionally inflicting emotional distress on Garrett and engaging in other harmful actions. A notable aspect of these developments is that the Detroit Police Department has reportedly sought a warrant from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. Should the prosecutor's office determine there's sufficient evidence or probable cause, Nicki Minaj could face criminal charges. This potential outcome is grave and has, understandably, attracted significant public attention. Interestingly, the lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court rather than Michigan, where the incident allegedly occurred. While this might seem unexpected, it's quite common for lawsuits involving prominent figures, particularly those based or conducting business in California, to be filed in Los Angeles. According to Variety, a representative for Nicki Minaj was unavailable for immediate comment. However, Minaj's attorney told TMZ that the allegations are completely false and frivolous, and expressed confidence that the case would conclude in Minaj's favor. Maria Miller, a spokesperson for the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, confirmed that they are reviewing a warrant request related to this case. The initiation of this review process is a standard procedure and does not necessarily mean that charges will be pressed. In situations involving celebrities, the decision-making process can be prolonged due to the heightened level of scrutiny these cases typically undergo. So, what are the specifics of the lawsuit? According to TMZ's initial report, Brandon Garrett, one of Nicki Minaj's managers, alleges that Minaj verbally abused him, slapped him, and threatened his career.
He wasn't really happy, but I knew that when he came to be with us, we were going to be happy. Like, he is this amazing, great Trinidadian chef and just a great person, like one of those party people, like whatever, lives up the whole house.
These claims stem from an incident that purportedly occurred backstage at Detroit's Little Caesars Arena on April 20th, right after Minaj completed her performance on the Pink Friday 2 World Tour. The lawsuit suggests the confrontation was triggered by a dispute over prescription medications. Garrett claims that Minaj became irate after he allowed someone other than himself or a trusted individual to pick up her prescription at a local pharmacy. According to the lawsuit, Minaj angrily accused him, saying, "Are you crazy having him pick up my prescription? You will never be anyone, I'll make sure of it," before allegedly slapping him so hard that it knocked his hat off his head. Garrett's recounting of the incident paints a picture of severe distress. He reports being so shocked and fearful after the altercation that he secluded himself in a backstage bathroom for several hours to avoid further encounters with Minaj or her entourage. He further alleges that following the incident, he found himself effectively abandoned in Detroit when the tour bus departed without him, a move he views as either retaliatory or negligently dismissive, leaving him stranded far from home without support. Garrett is seeking damages for multiple legal violations, including assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Should these allegations be substantiated, Minaj could face significant financial consequences, with the court's assessment likely depending on eyewitness testimonies, surveillance footage, text messages, and other forms of evidence that could demonstrate misconduct. Such lawsuits typically rely heavily on these types of corroborative details. Now, let's provide some broader context. Nicki Minaj, born Onika Tanya Miraj Petty, is a fixture in the limelight, with a music career spanning over a decade. She's known not only for her chart-topping hits, but also for her distinctive public persona, bold fashion choices, and her readiness to engage in public feuds and controversies. She has collaborated with a wide array of artists and boasts a global fan base. Her Pink Friday 2 World Tour was a major undertaking that attracted large audiences and extensive media attention, coming on the heels of the eager anticipation generated by her earlier Pink Friday projects. Her 2010 Pink Friday album launched her into superstardom, setting the stage with iconic looks and performances that have become synonymous with her name. The sequel to this album and its accompanying tour were thus met with considerable excitement and expectations. Understanding Brandon Garrett's role as a manager in Minaj's team is crucial. The artist-manager relationship is often intense, with managers overseeing scheduling, financial matters, promotions, and even personal tasks like medication management. On tour, where Minaj's schedule would have been particularly demanding, the pressures and stress levels can spike, heightening tensions backstage, particularly if there are any perceived missteps or mishandlings. In the lawsuit, Garrett depicts the dispute over the prescription medication as the catalyst for the confrontation.
Well, I'm wearing my own perfume. It's called Onika, and I gave it the other day. I was with Madonna, and I gave it to her, like a half of a bottle, because she loved it so much. And I hate leaving people without it. So
that's how you know you're a superstar. Madonna comes up, and you're like, "Here, girl, have some of my scent."
I sent her for her and her children, a whole bunch of them, and I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Oh, hey,
Merry Christmas to us. To get you working on a men's scent for me now.
I would love to. I would love to.
That's
next. Work on that venture.
This scenario illustrates how a minor oversight could potentially escalate into a significant conflict, particularly when tensions are already heightened. The crux of the matter, should the alleged slap have occurred, is determining whether this was an isolated incident of anger or part of a broader pattern of behavior, a question that may be central to a court's assessment if the case proceeds to trial. Nicki Minaj's legal team, however, has dismissed the allegations as completely false and frivolous, suggesting a strong defense against Garrett's claims. They might argue that the slap never occurred, or that the events didn't unfold as Garrett describes. There's also the possibility they could portray Garrett as exaggerating the situation to seek financial gain or media attention. It's important to recognize that high-profile celebrities like Minaj often face litigation, which can range from legitimate grievances to more opportunistic claims. Courts tend to approach cases involving high-profile defendants with a degree of caution. The involvement of the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office elevates this beyond mere civil litigation, as potential criminal charges against Minaj would significantly intensify the legal stakes. Additionally, the alleged threat reported by Garrett, "You will never be anyone, I'll make sure of it," could be viewed as an attempt to intimidate or an abuse of power. If substantiated, such a statement could support a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Coupled with a physical act, these allegations, if proven, could strengthen Garrett's case significantly. Let's consider the potential defenses Minaj might employ if the case proceeds to trial. A likely strategy could be to challenge the credibility of the manager's account. The defense might argue that if Garrett had genuinely been assaulted, he would have reported the incident immediately to law enforcement or other backstage personnel. They may also scrutinize the presence of witnesses or the availability of security footage from the arena. Given that large venues like Little Caesars Arena typically have extensive surveillance systems, the defense could question whether relevant areas were adequately monitored. Furthermore, the defense might highlight any prior issues with Garrett's performance or behavior. If they can establish a history of negligence or interpersonal conflicts involving Garrett, it could cast doubt on his narrative and undermine the credibility of his claims regarding the altercation. The lawsuit also mentions that Garrett was ostensibly abandoned in Detroit when the tour bus left without him. From a defensive standpoint, they could argue that Garrett missed a scheduled departure, a common occurrence given the strict timelines of tour logistics. If Garrett failed to be at the designated place on time, the defense might assert that the responsibility was his own. Despite exploring these defensive angles, it's crucial to remember that currently, these are all just allegations. None of the claims have been substantiated in court, and Minaj's legal team has firmly denied any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Garrett seeks unspecified damages for assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The proceedings in Los Angeles could be drawn out, with pre-trial activities and potential negotiations extending over a considerable period.
How much I love him, and he understands now. And then one person, he was just laughing.
ha ha ha, or
like that.
Oh,
yeah. He was like texting me it was kind of like a mix between cursing me out and laughing at it, but I didn't know. I just kept putting like this crying face emoji so that it can make things not as bad.
Especially amidst persistent media coverage, the potential criminal aspect remains uncertain as the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office continues its review. Maria Miller's statement about the office reviewing the warrant request is routine and does not necessarily indicate a definitive course of action. However, should criminal charges be filed, Minaj could face a very different type of legal challenge, potentially involving arraignments, hearings, and possibly a trial. Regarding the broader impact on Nicki Minaj's career, the effects of these allegations are not yet clear. While some celebrities have weathered accusations, lawsuits, or criminal charges, and continued to thrive in their careers, particularly when allegations are unproven or dismissed. Such high-profile legal battles can sometimes result in negative publicity, lost endorsements, or personal stress that might affect professional endeavors. Minaj is known for her strong public defense against criticisms. She has been involved in various public disputes over the years, whether on social media, in interviews, or with individuals who were once part of her circle. Therefore, if these allegations gain more attention, it wouldn't be surprising to see a more detailed formal response from her or her legal team. For now, the main response from Minaj's side has come from her lawyer, who has categorically denied the accusations. We should also note that lawsuits, particularly high-profile ones, can sometimes be settled outside of court. It's not uncommon for parties to opt for a confidential settlement to avoid the costs, time, and publicity associated with a trial. Whether that might occur in this case remains uncertain, especially given the potential criminal aspect. While criminal charges, if brought, must be resolved through the legal process and cannot be settled financially, the civil aspects of the case could potentially be resolved through a mutual agreement. For those following this story, it's important to remember that the situation is continuously developing. By the time you view this, there could be new developments, such as additional witness statements, new filings, or decisions from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. The field of entertainment law can be fast-paced and unpredictable, particularly with global celebrities involved. Now let's touch on the venue of the alleged incident. Detroit's Little Caesars Arena. Opened in 2017, this significant downtown Detroit venue hosts major sports events and concerts featuring top artists. Being located in Wayne County, local authorities have jurisdiction over any alleged offenses committed there. If Detroit police deem the manager's allegations credible, they would submit their findings to the prosecutor for further action, which is what appears to have occurred here. The date of the incident, April 20th, 2024, during Minaj's Pink Friday 2 World Tour, suggests the Detroit concert was a high-energy event, likely with thousands in attendance. Given the nature of such large events, the backstage area would be bustling with activity from crew members, managers, performers, security, and possibly media or VIP guests, increasing the likelihood that others may have witnessed the incident or its aftermath. Regarding the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, it's important to recognize that they deal with thousands of criminal cases annually. In a high-profile case like this, they would ensure they have sufficient evidence before deciding to proceed. Factors such as body cam footage from the incident night, a police report, or any recorded statements from the alleged victim could significantly influence their decision.
And he was like, who was this girl? He was just putting Young Money together. So he called up my people, and I just went out there to meet him. And we just kept on recording and stuff like that. And then little by little, more and more people started being a part of Young Money. And, that's how I met him. We joke around a lot. He has a great sense of humor. And I always kind of mess with him. He's a businessman. So I handle it as such. He's the president. And that's what he is to me.
The credibility of the individuals involved, any prior incidents, and relevant backgrounds might also be assessed to determine the plausibility of the claims. Focusing on Brandon Garrett, details about his background are sparse. We know he was one of Nicki Minaj's managers and was entrusted with tasks like prescription pickups, indicating a close professional relationship. The conflict over who handled her prescriptions suggests there might have been underlying trust issues or tension. Regarding the alleged open-hand slap, such physical assault claims hinge on whether there was intentional force applied, whether it was reasonable or provoked, and whether it caused injury or fear. Legally, Even a slap can qualify as battery if it is unconsented to, and knocking off someone's hat could be interpreted as either a minor or more aggressive form of battery, depending on the overall context. If proven, this incident raises questions about potential damages, both physical and emotional. Claims of emotional distress must demonstrate that the behavior was extreme and caused significant mental anguish, which might be argued in this situation given the dynamics involved. The final allegation that Garrett was left stranded in Detroit also requires scrutiny. The nature of this incident, whether it was an accidental oversight or a deliberate act, could affect the claims in his lawsuit. If it was seen as deliberate, it could support an argument of retaliatory or intimidating behavior. Conversely, Minaj's defense might argue it was a simple mishap, perhaps due to miscommunication or a missed departure amidst the post-show chaos. Legal experts often point out that in lawsuits involving celebrities, it is crucial to distinguish between legitimate legal claims and those that may be exploiting the celebrity's fame for financial advantage. However, the possibility of a criminal charge distinguishes this case from typical disputes that might otherwise be dismissed as he said, she said. Should the prosecutors find sufficient evidence, Nicki Minaj could potentially face criminal proceedings, which may involve penalties more severe than financial restitution, such as probation or even jail time. This scenario would be more likely if charged as a misdemeanor, assuming it's her first offense and not classified under a more severe category. To reiterate, Nicki Minaj's legal team has categorically denied all allegations, expressing confidence that the unfolding facts will exonerate her. This stance is typical in high-profile cases and doesn't necessarily imply an absence of merit in their defense. It's possible the allegations are exaggerated or stem from a misunderstanding that has been blown out of proportion. Considering the immediate public relations effects, this story could captivate the public, particularly given Minaj's bold public image. Her fans might split, with some staunchly supporting her and others feeling disillusioned or doubtful. Industry peers, sponsors, and promoters might adopt a cautious approach, waiting to see if the lawsuit progresses or leads to criminal charges, which could influence Minaj's future professional engagements and endorsements. Nonetheless, many celebrities have weathered similar storms, maintaining their careers provided they avoid legal convictions and retain substantial public support.
Everyone has an opinion, and also I'm never mad when people say that. Whenever people give me constructive criticism, like if somebody tells me you could have went harder on that, I accept things like that. I have an issue when the criticism seems like it's personal or like from a bad place.
Moreover, this lawsuit could lead to counterclaims. Minaj's attorneys might consider filing a defamation suit against Garrett if they believe his claims are intentionally false and damaging to her reputation, which would necessitate proving malicious intent on his part. Whether Minaj chooses to pursue such a course or focuses solely on defending against the current allegations while continuing her career remains to be seen. One aspect we haven't discussed yet is the role of social media. Nicki Minaj is highly active on platforms like Twitter and Instagram, where she frequently interacts with her fans. It raises the question of whether she might address these allegations through tweets or live sessions. In many celebrity legal cases, lawyers typically advise their clients to avoid discussing the litigation publicly, as such statements can be used as evidence and may complicate the legal strategy. However, it wouldn't be surprising if Minaj chooses to speak directly to her fans at some point, perhaps to affirm her innocence, or to mention that lawsuits like this come with the territory. As you can see, there's a lot to consider, and the situation is likely to evolve significantly in the weeks and months ahead. Legal proceedings such as this can expand rapidly once depositions, witness testimonies, and any potential footage or text messages are introduced as evidence. Both sides will be working hard to substantiate or refute the allegations. For now, it's important to note that Nicki Minaj has not been charged with any crime. A warrant request is merely a procedural step that law enforcement takes when they believe there might be grounds to pursue a case. If the prosecutor finds the evidence insufficient or lacks probable cause, the request may be denied. Should they decide to proceed, Minaj would be formally charged and required to respond to the charges. This lawsuit also sheds light on the complexities of professional relationships in the entertainment industry. Managers, assistants, and other personnel must often manage their artists' demanding schedules, creative expectations, and personal stresses. Miscommunications can escalate into conflicts, and seemingly minor errors can be magnified under the intense pressure of a global tour. While none of this would justify physical violence, if it indeed occurred, these elements might be woven into the narrative presented by each party in court. It's also relevant to consider that Nicki Minaj has navigated controversies before, though typically not of this nature. Allegations of physical assault on staff. She has had public disputes with other celebrities, and while those incidents have made headlines, a physical altercation leading to a lawsuit and potential criminal charges represents a much more serious accusation.
It was just like, whoa, what is this? It just sounded so dope and fresh and interesting. And it sounded new and old at the same time, like ancient. And I was like, wow. Anyway, so once I was able to get them to do it, and Phineas go back and forth and do the beat and all of that stuff, and even get Billy to be cool with the idea, it was like I knew that I wanted it to be the intro from the very first second. Of course, he's one of my top rap idols, period. He knows that too. And with Kanye, I was extremely nervous. I was out in Hawaii, and I had written a verse for Monster, and he said, I think you could do better.
For fans, reconciling such allegations with the artist they admire and enjoy can be challenging. Yet, the entertainment industry has seen numerous cases where allegations were either disproven or settled discreetly, often with little long-term impact on the artist's reputation. As further details emerge, possibly through court documents or statements from the involved parties, we may gain a better understanding of the events that occurred backstage on April 20th. Additional testimony from witnesses or other team members could either support or refute Garrett's claims. Video evidence, if available, could prove crucial, though it's worth noting that cameras in venues often cover common areas rather than private spaces like dressing rooms. Currently, our role is to report on the allegations and the potential charges as they stand. We will continue to update you as the situation evolves. Given Nicki Minaj's prominence in the hip-hop world, this case is likely to remain a focal point of public interest for some time. We urge our viewers and readers to keep an open mind regarding this case. Stories in the entertainment industry can often become sensationalized, yet it's also important to seriously consider the claims of potential victims. Maintaining a balance between skepticism and empathy is key when engaging with such media reports. To recap, Nicki Minaj faces allegations of assault, battery, and intentionally causing emotional distress to her manager, Brandon Garrett, following an incident after her concert in Detroit in 2024. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office is currently reviewing a warrant request, which may lead to criminal charges. Minaj's attorney has strongly denied these allegations, describing them as false and frivolous, and is confident that they will be dismissed. The resolution of this case, whether through negotiations, a settlement, or a trial, could take considerable time. Thank you for tuning into this comprehensive analysis of the allegations against Nicki Minaj. If you found this discussion insightful, please like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to ensure you don't miss any future updates or other significant entertainment news. We promise to keep you informed of any new developments and to offer a balanced perspective on this unfolding story. Stay informed, and we'll see you in the next update.